Very good morning, children. In today's session, we are going to start with Chapter 6 Recursion. What is recursion? From the image, you can understand something it's going to repeat. So, recursion is one of the programming strategy which helps to write a elegant program. So, in this chapter, we are going to have the introduction about recursion, and then we are going to understand what do you mean by recursive function. We are also going to understand how it works, and we are going to discuss a lot of Python programs using recursion and what is the difference between recursion and iteration. So let us get into the topic, dear. First, let us understand what is recursion. So before we actually get into the topic, let us quickly recall what we have learned in functions. We have already learned about function, how to write the function, how to use the function. We used to write the function definition, and then we used to call the function by specifying the name of the function either in the main program or in any other function or in a statement. We used to call the function. So that is how we have learned about function, right? So here there is a difference. So what is recursion? Recursion refers to a programming technique in which a function calls itself. Try to understand. Refers to a programming technique in which a function calls itself. That is, I'll be writing a function. So function definition, that is the body of the function, in which there will be a function call statement of the same function, either directly or indirectly. In a recursive function, the function body contains the function call to the same function. Okay, you will understand when we get into the examples. A function is said to be a recursive function if it calls itself. Look at this particular function definition, def. So that is how you start writing the function definition, def. The name of the function is a and it does not take any parameters, and then there is colon. So this is your function header. So inside the function header, this is your function body. So inside the function body, you are calling the same function, right? So this is how you call the function a, right? So if the function contains the call to the same function, then it is said to be a recursive function. So this example shows direct recursion. What do you mean by direct recursion? That is, a function calls itself directly from its function body. So here is a function a, here is a function test. So this function calls itself. Inside the function body itself, there is a function call statement for the same function. So if it is being done in this way, this is called as direct recursion. So what do you mean by indirect recursion? That is, a function calls another function which calls its caller function. So look at the example here, def a, so colon is missing here. So here def a, so this is the function definition. So inside the function definition, there is a call to a function b. However, when you look at the definition of b, so it is calling a. So which again it will call, that is a, it's not called inside the same function. However, so it will be called inside the function body, okay, through b. So this is called as indirect recursion. So look at these example, the function which calls itself, okay, there is a and then there is a function body contains the calls to the same function. So otherwise there is a function 1 and then function 2. Function 1 calls function 2, function 2 calls function 1. Okay, so if it is happening like that, this is a indirect recursion. This is what depicted here also. So look at this, there is a function 1 which calls function 2, which calls function 3, and then which you can go to a number of levels, and that function again call back function 1. Okay, so these are all the examples for indirect recursion. So we are going to understand in this chapter how to write a recursive function. What are all the things that needs to be taken care while writing a recursive function? Now look at this program. We have learned that a recursive function is a function which contains calls to itself. Okay, so here there is a function definition, def function 1. So this is the name of the function. So inside this function I am printing the message hello, and then I am calling the function, that is the same function. So this particular function, this is a recursive function. Okay, and then this is the main program or the top level statement where you have to initiate the first call to this function. Okay, so this is what we have learned, right? So this is a recursive function. Now let us run this program and check what is the output that we are getting. So when you run this program, do you see? So hello, it's been displayed. Still it is displaying. Do you see? And then there is a error message. And at the last it says recursion error. Maximum recursion depth exceeded while pickling an object. So what is the problem? So while you see this, you must have asked a question when it will stop. So the answer is you must have written the code to stop the execution. That is, you must have written inside the function definition where to stop the recursion. So that is what we are going to understand. So this is the program and this is the output, and this is the error message that we have seen. So the program is a recursive program, but the recursion code is not sensible. Why it is not sensible? Because so it has been repeated n number of times and it ends with the error message. So the sensible code should define where to stop. So your code must contain where the recursion should stop. The right or sensible code should fulfill the following requirements. That is, when you write a recursive function, your recursive function must have these two cases. So the first one is it must have a case whose result is known or compound without any recursive calling, which is called as a base case. That is, inside my function definition, there must be a statement where you will be able to give the answer without calling the same function. Okay, you will understand better when we get into the examples. Okay, so that is the point here is whose result is known or compound without any recursive calling. That is the point. Okay, there must be a case where without calling the same function you should be able to say the result. So that is where the program or the function stops calling itself. The base case must be reachable from some argument or parameter. Okay, it's not only that it should have a case where you have to stop the program, it should be reachable by any of the arguments that you pass. Okay, and then it also have a recursive case. Okay, recursive case, it's nothing but your function call to itself. Okay, whereby function calls itself. Okay, so when you write a recursive function, there must be a base case and then recursive case. So the base case should tell where to stop and the recursive case should repeat the same process again and again. So recursion is a technique for solving a large computational problem by repeatedly applying the same procedure to reduce it to successively smaller problems. Okay, you are actually breaking the larger problem into a smaller problem. A recursive procedure has two parts, one or more base cases You can have, at least you must have one base case, but you can have one or more base cases under recursive step. So this is what you have to understand first before you start writing your recursive program.